Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now for many of you, this is probably your first episode you hear me tackle a subject about my own country, the UK. The UK just ended the registration date for everyone that wants to vote for the general election happening the 4th of July of 2024, where we will probably see the elected Labour Party into power. Now, whichever way the country will go is kind of the question to the people of the island. Now, this isn't really up to me, but this is up to the legacy the people of the British Isles want to pursue. Now, understanding this, the Labour Party will come into power in whatever form it will be, because 14 years of bad, horrible Conservative government with many years of Blair-light orderly, just taking over the entire UK system, changing it what from it originally was, has now turned into the satisfaction of a very few wealthy people of the centre of London, now is kind of destroying our entire society in general. Now, the question is, what's going to happen after the 4th of July is up to anyone's guess. The world is going a very crazy place, and it's very odd to guess where it can go next. It can get a lot worse. That is the main thing. But my question to you, to be honest, is what are you prepared to do? Because this is the question I kind of want to ask to people. Where do you really want this country to go? Because you can always predict and always guess where you want to go. Same with me as well. You can always guess where it could go. But the thing is, there's a lot of people who say, well, we must stand up to the far right and stand up to the far left and stand up for this and do this thing, or just sit back and let the world thing burn. Well, that's an opinion, yes. And there's many other opinions out there. Question is, which kind of country do you want to live in the next 10, 15 years? This is for mostly questions for people from 18 to 30, where I bet most of you, I bet 70% of you are struggling on your wages, can't figure out how to get a house, let alone keep the rent up, buy the food, cost of living and everything else, and lots of problems you will probably make to yourself, and everyone else will make problems for themselves and make it even worse situation to be in. Because we know the situation of our country is going down their shitter very fast, and when the elected party comes into power, regardless if there is an opposition of whatever form it will basically be a shit show. That's true, it just will be a shit show. And the fact of what the UK will be in the future is a question. Now, there's always optimism with people who think on the right that the Nigel Farage and Reform will become the opposition of the party, but to be honest, that's not really the opposition. That's basically just an anchor way to scare off the main elite, Westminster elite from London, and all the establishment media hacks who are basically clinging on to power as much as they can. Because we know by the time Labour's out of their office, let's say they do an 8-year run with Sir Keir Starmer, and in the north with the SNP always running out of their funds and making sure they can't make enough lies to make sure their arses aren't on fire, they can both probably see the end of the UK or end of the destruction of the system that they have to be an inedible cause. Now, the question is, for the people who are in these different areas on the UK, they're sort of different wherever you are. North England's different from Birmingham, Birmingham's different from London different from Edinburgh, Glasgow, Aberdeen, or even Manchester and Northern Ireland. The question is, what kind of system or what kind of country do you want to be in? Because the questions of independent Scotland, a united Ireland, or a possible World War III scenario with a draft. Everything's up for grabs. Yeah, we're so fucked. But the fact is, even our situations in our local towns with immigration and laws and buyings and things that will change the landscape forever will be a question for us all. Now, I can't come with much predictions and much answers what could be better for people in the UK. The question is, it's kind of what you want to do. I'm not really giving you an answer. or a solution. Because if I did, I wouldn't be making YouTube videos. If I did, I wouldn't be making YouTube videos. I would be out there campaigning on my own party or whoever it would be. But we're not on that stage yet. That's most fantasy until something goes incredibly wrong. And the question is, even if we get our fantasy solution, which is the Labour victory, the realization of what happens next, or whatever you think it will be, it's going to be a challenge. But I think the most thing that keep important is there's always a chance we can get out of this. But we've always had to make things worse before they get better. That's what I've always believed in. Because you can't just start putting plaster solutions over everything. We've seen that with 14 years of Tory government after trying to deal with 14 years of bad Labour policy, and Conservatives just and the Labour Party being the same party now. So we're just going to get more of the same, but Labour will do it faster. So expect everything you know about this country to go even worse, and even everything you might think you know, probably worse than that. So, better question is, what are you prepared to do about it? Are you prepared to sit by and idly watch the whole country go to flames? Are you going to run off to another country and hope it just doesn't happen there? Or are you going to stand up and do something? Now, there's many of you who probably are doing something. It's probably this message isn't to you. But for me, the question would be, what about everyone else who's not looking at this question? Now, I would call these people the normies. The average working class people who don't care about politics, who don't really pay any attention about what's going on in the world, and just care about their own well-being and their family and so on. Yes, we can be all the Amish farmers if we want, but that's not the point. The point is, these are the people who are the mass majority who probably get a vote who are less uninformed. These are the people who are very, very dangerous not to be influenced. People are trying to influence them online and so on with many different ideas. But the question is if those ideas are any good or bad, or are they just kind of do their own thing and not even bother? Because that's a potential thing in this election too. Now, what we need to do is, one, make these people learn hard that the voting for Labour was a complete disaster, because I always believe in a hard smack in the face will eventually make this work for them, and they will realise eventually, like everyone else who's more informed, that Labour is just as bad as the Tories are, but you can't get rid of them because they basically had a hold of the system. Now, could they be better or they could be worse? That's up to you, yourself. But the thing is, for you, who's probably more informed than everyone else, we've kind of got to sit back and watch the whole thing burn until we can realize what we can do to save it, because we're not going to save a system that doesn't work for us to thrive in. There's no point. It's the end of the universe. It will not be worth it. You might as well start blowing yourself up on the D-Day beaches before you even realize the chances of success in 1945 are even a day ahead of you. That's the kind of thing we have to do. We've kind of got to realize what the strategy is going forward. Because I'll tell you, no one knows what they're doing, really. But I believe right now, the realization of the normie masses is the one way forward. And when this election comes around, and what happens next is going to be very predictable. Very predictable. But we have to let the normie masses understand what they have done. And that's the only way they will learn, is by making that huge mistake and letting the Labour Party in. And I'm sorry that doesn't make you happy, but it's the only way forward. But for you, make sure you can look after yourself, do the basic needs. Make sure you can look after yourself and do all the little things that you can do to protect yourself and your little family and girlfriends and so on and boyfriends. Because, honestly, it could be a bumpy ride.